Good morning and thank you for tuning in. This is your directional video for today, which is December 10th, in case you were absent from class or you need a reiteration as to what we did. So today, again, we're going to continue with genetics and talk about our second rule breaker, which is the concept of codominance. Remember, up until this point, we've talked about Mendel and how he kind of paved the way for the inheritance patterns in his pea plants. But as a general rule of thumb, our world and our phenotypes that are expressed aren't as simple as Mendelian genetics. So these are our non-Mendelian genetic traits, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Up until this point, we talked about incomplete dominance, which is where there is a blending of the traits. So today we're going to be talking about codominance, which is when both of the alleles that are provided are both dominant. So there isn't such thing as a recessive trait. They're both dominant, which means both of those traits will show. It's not a blending, they're just actually both going to show in the offspring. So your classic example, as you can kind of see on the screen, are coat color in cattle. You can see a pure red and a pure white cattle, or any sort of cattle, can produce a roan offspring, which is the case, in this case, a red and white spotted on their skin color. Also a classic example is dealing with chickens. A black and white chicken, they don't make gray chickens, they make an erminette or a speckled chicken, which is a black and white spotted chicken. And then the classic example with humans will be blood typing. Blood typing is a great example of codominance because blood type A and blood type B are both dominant. So that's why you have blood type AB, if you know anybody that has that blood type. So I'm just going to kind of go through the lesson for today. You can also, if you were absent, there is a link under my post in Google Classroom to actually do the student pace pair deck so that you can go through and do all the interactive portions so that I know that you actually went through and are responsible with that. So by definition, this is when both alleles are simultaneously expressed in the heterozygous genotype. Okay, and again, I just mentioned their examples. Again, both are expressed together, they're both dominant. I always think of the example of the cattle, or in this case, you can see the cows. There's no such thing as a pink cow. So that if it was a pink cow, that would be an example of incompletely dominant. Okay, pink and white, red and white together make pink. There's no such thing as pink cows. But there are such things as cows that are spotted both brown and white. So that should hopefully remember the concept of codominance. So I have one example for you that you're going to do with red and white and try to express it in the offspring, what it may be. Then you also have another example with feather color in chickens, like I said, the speckled chicken as a result. And then you have another example for example 2. The third type is going to be the more popular understanding behind codominance and the more relative version, and that's with human blood types. There are 4 blood types. You personally may not know what your blood type is, but eventually you will find it out, whether it's through donating blood or having to give blood for some reason. It's a pretty easy way to track to figure out what your blood types are. There are 4 blood types: blood type A, B, AB, and O, and a lot of times you hear them paired with a positive or a negative, and that we can talk about that as well in class. There's also a slide that goes through that. So we can actually predict the offspring blood type based on what we know about the parents. So we're going to be doing a couple example problems with that. If you look through the slides, this is kind of our way to show the different genotypes. You have A and B, which are both codominant, which is why you have that new blood type of AB. And then O is recessive. Again, so in this case, this is kind of multiple alleles, lots of expressions, kind of the hardest rule breaker to actually go through and understand. So it's a little bit about blood types, antibodies, and the rhesus factor, which is your positive or negative after your blood groups. So these are just a couple review questions, and then of course I have 2 Punnett squares that you'll be completing, and you can check your answers with. So that was our lesson today. Again, if you were absent or you needed a recap as to what we did in class today, we covered the concept of codominance, when both of the alleles are dominant and show up in the offspring population. And you use a Punnett square to predict that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your teachers. Your teachers always love to help.